الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, Ayat number 154 and 155 of Surat Al-Baqarah we have just recited. The rabat and connection of these ayat is with the previous ayat, is that in the previous ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in ayat number 153, the previous ayah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة. O those of you who believe, seek assistance with patience and salah. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. Definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the sabirin, with those who have patience. This ayah, ayat number 153, particularly regarding the position of sabr and patience, it was related to the previous ayat and also the coming ayat. One connection is with this ayah, ayat number 153 and 154, is that as human beings, it is natural to have a fear of death, especially in those conditions where we are faced with death or we come face to face with death. Then it is human nature to be afraid. Looking at our current condition in the year 2020, the month of August, where the world has been hit by a pandemic, there's an overwhelming fear worldwide in many countries. Though the pandemic has been going on for many months now, but as human beings, even though we have the innate nature, the fitrah of adaptation, we have an innate nature to adapt. Even with the adaptation, we have adapted to the current situation, there is still an overwhelming fear. So it is human nature to be afraid of many things, especially those things that would jeopardize or put a person's life in jeopardy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made it very, very clear that when it comes to seeking assistance, the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and persevering, one of the greatest positions that can ever be given to a believer is also the status of shahada, being shaheed, a martyr for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in defense of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most obvious meaning is those that are martyred on the battlefield. But there are many other conditions and situations in which a person may lose his life and also have the status of shaheed, or be given a status of shaheed, a believer or a mu'min. Here, what is unique about ayat number 124 is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the term fi sabilillah. وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Do not say about those who are killed fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was already made very clear, the system of sabr and patience, the greatest patience a person can have, or perseverance a person can have, is being firm and steadfast on the battlefield. But beyond that also are all those conditions which a mu'min or believer may be tested in their deen, particularly when they're in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a believer, a mu'min, on many other occasions is also given the status of shahada. But particularly here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word yuqtal, those that are killed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلَا تَقُولُوا, do not say, لِمَنْ يُقْتَلْ, regarding those that have been killed, fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning on the battlefield, the shuhada. Don't say about them, amwatan, that they are dead. بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ, rather they're alive. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, you just don't realize it. In the Ayat of Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats this statement in a unique way again. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Do not think about those who are killed, or those who die in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they are dead. Don't think that they are dead. But ahya'un, rather they're very alive. They're very much alive. And again, tanween is used here in Surah Al-Baqarah and also in Surah Al-Imran. Ahya'un, they're very much alive. Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. They're definitely alive. They have sustenance with their Rabb. Here in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ, they're definitely alive. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, you just don't perceive it. What is unique is that, and this should be a masala that it should be made very clear, is related to death. That as insan, as human beings, when we die, in general, the earth, when we're placed inside our qabr, placed inside our grave, The qabr or the grave, one of the qualities the grave has is that it eats the body. There's nothing left but bones. If you come back after a few weeks or days or months, you come back after a few weeks or months, you'll find only bones. The body is completely gone, decayed. But there are some particular groups of people that the earth is not allowed to eat their body, nor does their body decay. It starts from the shuhada. Those that are martyrs in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The earth is not allowed to eat their bodies. The earth is not allowed to decay them or allow them to decay. They do not decay. Then it goes on status from various levels of shaheed. The highest form, obviously, those who give their life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there may be others who are given merit of that level as well. For example, the pious and righteous ulama and scholars. It was because of their teachings, their writings, their da'wah that they were giving that people got the encouragement to even give their life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. So they also have a very, very great status. Those that are righteous, those that are sincere, of the ulama and the scholars also, you'll find that the earth does not eat their bodies, they do not decay. And then the status above that, the status of the tabi'in, and then you have the tabi'in and sahaba and the anbiya alayhimus salam. You have all of these categories that go above the category of the shuhada. So when you have these categories that go above the category of the shuhada, their bodies also does not decay, they do not wither away from the earth because of the earth. This is our aqidah, this is our belief, and not only our belief, but time and again this has been proven to be a fact. There have been many occasions, on many occasions, where sometimes a qabr or a grave was dug and they did not know that this was the qabr of someone. And when they dug, they found someone sleeping in that grave as if they were sleeping, but they found out later on that this person had passed away hundreds of years before, or in some cases thousands of years before. There was an incident and this is in very recent history, there was a case where there was, because of flooding and because of other phenomena, some of the graves of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had withered, and there was a need to move the bodies of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. There was 3 or 4 bodies that were needed to be moved. This is very recent history. And the government made arrangements, the ulama and the scholars came, and there was no other choice but they had to move the bodies because of the floods and the other things that were happening. And they dug the graves, and the bodies of the Sahaba were still fresh. And not one, not quite a few. And they covered them and they were moving them. And if I remember correctly, someone even showed me a video where they were only able to see the feet of one of the Sahaba or some of the Sahaba. And they were still fresh, like someone sleeping. And after 1400 years, 1400 years, the bodies were still very fresh. And they moved the bodies and they put them in new qabr, in new grave. But this is not something that is limited to this ummah. It's not limited to the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is something that even came to the Ummah and the nations of the past. The Anbiya alayhimus salam, the prophets and messengers of the past, the righteous of the past, even their bodies did not decay. Regarding Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the mu'jiza, gave him the miracle that he used to resurrect the dead. With the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would make a dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that dua would resurrect the dead. There are 5 very, very famous incidents that happened during the lifetime of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. These are well documented. One of the first incidents was that the Bani Israel, they told Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam that we will not believe in you until you resurrect our forefather. You have to understand the mentality of the time of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam was that they were a people who had gone very, very far in advancement in the field of medicine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send Anbiya alayhimus salam with such mu'jizat and miracles that they would challenge the power of the time, or the norm of the time, or what the people experienced of that time. And the Anbiya alayhimus salam, they were sent in the nation, and they were sent with the language of the people, but also miracles to challenge the power and the norm of the time. This is why Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he was given such miracles that they were very related to medical science. He was born without a male intervention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him birth without a father. He spoke in infancy. There's no medicine that can make a baby talk. Even if we do come out with something, don't give it to your babies. You don't want babies talking. It's bad enough having children, the infant talking, but Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is an infant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him intellectual speech. He did not speak like a baby. He was speaking like an intellectual person. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a miracle that he used to be able to make a clay bird blow life into it. He used to fly for some time and then go down again. He used to tell people their diets. And I can inform you what you have eaten and what you have left at home. So he used to tell people about their diet, what they were eating, their dietary systems. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the power to resurrect the dead. Still till now, medical science is not able to bring back the dead. They're trying in the field of cryogenics and in the field of all of these different types of systems that they're doing advancement and research into, with different levels of research. Some are doing it in cryogenics, they're trying to freeze bodies. In other fields of science, they're trying other methods to find ways to resurrect the dead or make someone immortal. They're working on these various things. But they have not been able to do it. So one of the first things that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he told the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me this mu'jiza. I can resurrect the dead. So they challenged him. They said, Bani Israel told him, we will not believe in you until you resurrect our forefather. He said, who do you want me to resurrect? They said, we want you to resurrect the son of Nuh alayhi salam. In lineage, this is where the Bani Israel and the Arab, they go back to Sam. Sam was the son of Nuh alayhi salam. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he went to the qabr and he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Sam came out of his grave completely fresh. He came back to life. It was a gap of thousands of years from the death of Sam to the coming of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the birth of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. It was a gap of thousands of years. But the son of Sam was also a very righteous, the son of Nuh alayhi salam, Sam, he was a very righteous person. Also given very, very great status with his righteousness. So this is our aqidah, that the righteous, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them a special type of life. And if the shuhada, if the martyrs are alive, then what do we think about those that have a status above even the status of the martyrs? So it means they also have a life. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making very clear for us. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is alive. But not obviously in this worldly domain. So he left, he obviously tasted death. As every living creature that has been given life, they'll have to also taste death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of life. The rest of creation was given life, so the creation must taste death. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, though he departed from this world, when it comes to the qabr and the grave, he still has a different kind of life. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the ayah, بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. They're alive, you just don't realize it. You don't perceive it. Their life is a different kind of life. Sometimes people get into this debate that is there any type of benefit that can someone get from those who have left this world and they may be alive in their grave? Is there any kind of benefit? One thing is very clear is that we know that when it comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whenever we recite salawat ala nabi, the durood, then that is presented to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he responds to that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gives reward. How that is and what is the system, but we know that the malaika, they take that salawats to him. Also, when passing by the Rawd Mubarak of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where the grave is, when we give salam and we recite the salawat and the durood, so that is also presented to him. That much we know. So there is some level of response, there is some kind of dua that is made back also. There's also this debate about those that have left this world, that even if they left this world, can they hear us in the grave? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Ayat of the Quran that وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُسْمِعٍ مَّن فِي الْقُبُورِ. That, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you're not able to make someone listen, those that are in the grave. Meaning those that have left this world, you don't have the power to make them listen. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that you don't have the power to make those in the grave listen. But if you check the context of that statement, in the verses before and the verses after is talking about the kuffar and disbelievers. That the kuffar and disbelievers who do not believe in you, no matter what miracles you show them, no matter what da'wah you give them, they're not going to listen because they're like dead people. And you don't have the power to make someone in the grave listen to you. Means that you do not have the power to make a kafir or disbeliever believe in you and accept your message. You don't have this power to give hidayah to someone. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was not given this ability to give guidance to someone. He did not control hidayah. Guidance is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives hidayah to whomsoever he wants. That is why the Anbiya alayhim as-salam, the prophets and messengers, they were sent to make the effort of da'wah. But they did not have the power to make someone accept Iman. Otherwise, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would have made his own uncle Abu Talib accept Iman, but he could not do it. And in that context, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even revealed the ayah in the Quran. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. You cannot guide whomsoever you love. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. But it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gives guidance to whomsoever He wills. So this statement of you do not make those in the grave listen is related to the disbelievers in the context of those verses. And again, no human being, even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was not given this power to make someone in the grave listen to him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has the power to make someone listen. Especially if He has told us in the Quran that they're not dead, such as the shuhada and the salihin, the righteous. And again, the Anbiya alayhim salam, the prophets and messengers. How they listen, where are they, can they respond? Obviously, we don't hear the response. What is the response? Are they able to communicate with us? Can we derive any kind of benefit from them? Have we ever derived benefit? People get into these kind of debates. These are very, very theological debates. I just want to clarify one thing, that it doesn't benefit us in any way. Sometimes to get carried away with these kind of arguments. How does it benefit us? What we can prove is that from the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that whenever we recite salawat ala nabi or durood, so there's immense benefit that is presented to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's another hadith about righteous a'mal, righteous deeds that are done on behalf of someone, and their darajah, their position is elevated in paradise. There's a very famous hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said that a man's darajah, a man's level is elevated in paradise. It means a righteous person. So his level is elevated. So he asks and he says, Ay Rabbi, ay shay'in hadha. That, oh Allah, what is this? Why did my position go up in paradise? My connection with the world is cut off. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells this righteous person that your child or your loved one has made dua for you. And because they've made dua for you, they've done a righteous amal, that, oh Allah, give the reward and ajr to this, my father or this righteous person, whoever it may be that have passed away. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that good deed and gave it as a means of ulu darajat, elevating the position of those who have already left this world that are righteous and believers. So it does benefit them, those that do amal in this world, make dua for those that have passed away. Another hadith, very famous, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, إِذَا مَاتَ الْعَبْدِ إِنْقَطَعَ عَنْهُ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. When a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they pass away, their connection with this world is completely cut off except for three things. Sadaqatun jariyah, a sadaqah that the reward of it is continuously going. Somebody builds a masjid, so people pray there, people recite Quran there, people do ibadah there. The ajr and reward will follow a person who has passed away if they built that masjid, or they were involved in the building of that masjid, or in any way they were involved in the donation or the construction, whatever it might be. The same applies with a water well. Water, somebody's benefiting. They've made wells where people do not have water and people are benefiting. It's a form of sadaqah. So there are many different forms of sadaqah that a person can do that would benefit the person even after they leave this world. Or a person has left behind such knowledge that there's benefit going on. The greatest means of knowledge, of benefit, is the knowledge of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's a system of da'wah going on, a system of ilm going on. So the reward of that is going back to those who have left this legacy of ilm behind, this legacy of knowledge behind. How many scholars, we have their books. They've passed away hundreds of years ago, but people are still benefiting from their books today. How many scholars have left behind aqwal and sayings? People are still benefiting from it today. All these compilation of the ulum of deen, how many people are benefiting? So a pious, righteous Muslim believer They leave behind a legacy of knowledge. Even when they leave this world, the reward goes to them. Or a person leaves behind a child, righteous child, and he make dua for him. So the rewards go. So that is why leave behind this kind of legacy in this world. Do some kind of sadaqah, that the reward of it is continuous. Do leave behind some kind of ilm of deen, or a legacy of ilm of deen. That may also follow us, or leave behind these righteous children. Make an effort on the children that they're righteous, they understand the huquq of the parents, and at least that they make dua for you. As far as the other way around, has someone left this world and have they ever benefited someone? Or can they give back benefit? People ask these kind of questions. If someone has passed away, is there any way they can come back, or is there any way they can plead on our behalf? One thing is very clear is that as far as individual cases, it's very difficult or impossible to say. But when you look at the hadith of Mi'raj, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went on the Isra and Mi'raj, the night journey, and then he ascended to the heavens, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was taken to the 7 heavens and then beyond the 7 heavens. Very lengthy hadith, and we have already gone over the details of that hadith. One of the greatest gifts the greatest gift that was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and then given to this ummah was the gift of salah, which was originally 50 salah in a day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to tell your ummah to pray 50 salah in a day. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he was coming back, on his journey back, he met Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. In every Jannah, in every heaven, in every sama, in every heaven, in every sama, there were Anbiya alayhi salam, prophets and messengers, that were stationed. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was going from one sama to the second, from one heaven to the second heaven to the third heaven, like this, in every heaven he met different prophets. It's a very lengthy hadith. In the 6th heaven he met Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Every single Nabi had a brief discussion with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam will proceed on his journey. But on his way back, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was coming back, he met Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam on his way back. Now we know that Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he has left this world, as all of the Anbiya alayhi salam, except for Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. All of the other Anbiya alayhi salam, they've already left this world as far as life is concerned. They have tasted death, except for Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he will come back and he will taste death. So Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he has already left this world. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he was coming back, he met Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command you and your ummah? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded me and has commanded my ummah to pray 50 times a day. To pray salah 50 times a day. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam said, this is too much. Go back and request a reduction. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and requested a reduction, and it was reduced. There are 2 famous hadith about this, that it was reduced by 5, another hadith mentions by 10. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he came back to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam again said that this is too much, 45 or 40 is too much. Go back and get it reduced. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and had it reduced. And this was going on, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was going between Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and then going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and getting the number reduced for the salah until it came down to 5 times salah. There's a lot of hikmah and a lot of wisdom, and maybe when we get to the ayat of Surah Al-Isra, we'll get into the details of that. But what is very clear here is that there was a shafa'ah, there was an intercession that was done by Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam on behalf of the whole ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So actually we as Muslims, we owe Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam a very, very great gratitude and thanks that he actually thought about us and requested this reduction. But what is clear is that he has already left this world. So even in that realm, he was able to give shafa'ah and intercede on our behalf, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that intercession. We call it shafa'ah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in multiple places in the Quran makes it very clear that he accepts shafa'ah or intercession from whomsoever he wants. وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ إِلَّا لِمَنِ ارْتَضَى. No one can intercede except for whosoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants intercession. So this was a kind of shafa'ah, kind of intercession on behalf of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam towards us to have the salah reduced until it came down to 5 times salah. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he said, go and get it reduced even more than 5. Your ummah cannot pray 5 times a day. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, now I feel shy. At least 5 times a day my ummah can do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted and made an announcement that yes, it is 5 times salah as far as the performance is concerned, but the ajr will be given as if 50. Man jaa bil hasanati falahu ashra amthaliha, as the ayat of the Quran come. Whosoever does a good deed, it is rewarded 10 times. The reward is multiplied 10 times. The reward was given as if you're praying 50. But this is a system wherein someone who has already left this world, and left this world thousands of years before, but they were able to give a benefit to someone, and not one person or 2 people, but to a whole nation, to a whole ummah, give a kind of benefit, but that also with the permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is very clear is that this was a position given to a Nabi, to a prophet, someone that we know is alive. Not alive in the sense of life because they've tasted death in this world, but alive in a way that we don't perceive it. And no one can claim that, oh, we can go and request someone to intercede on our behalf. First of all, will they even be able to hear our dua, let alone hear our statements? And also, even if they can, will they have the ability to intercede on our behalf? We don't know. Rather, dua should be made directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should avoid using any kind of intercession in between. Just directly asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, there is the debate about certain a'mal, but that inshallah we'll have in the coming lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.